G'day everyone, my name's Michael Taylor, and in this video I'm going to give you my next level performance upgrades for your BMW E46. Now these upgrades are best done if you've already done my top 5 performance upgrades that I outlined in an earlier video. So if you haven't seen that video, pause this video and click on the link above, watch that video, but don't forget to come back. Now a word of warning about these upgrades. They're not pretty and shiny and fancy and all that sort of thing, and most people aren't going to know that you've made these upgrades. But the really important thing is you will know, and you won't be able to wipe that stupid grin off your face every time you drive your E46. Without mucking around, let's get straight into it. So you've gone out and installed a nice set of coilovers or a Coupe kit and got yourself a really nice stance on your E46. And by lowering it, you've lowered the centre of gravity a smidgen and slightly improved the handling. But in order to take your handling to the next level, you're going to want to upgrade your sway bars or anti-roll bars to a performance set. And if your budget allows, I'd strongly recommend that you go for an adjustable set of sway bars. Now while you're ordering it, add on a set of polyurethane sway bar bushes and adjustable end links to get the most out of your new sway bar setup. Now if you really want to take your suspension setup to the ultimate level, how about you look at upgrading your diff and diff carrier bushes to polyurethane and also adding an adjustable rear lower control arm to your package. There's plenty on the market, but don't cheap out on this one. Get a really good brand. The benefits of going a really good brand will far outweigh saving a few dollars at the outset. The real advantage with this is that it's going to give you more tyre contact on the road by being able to adjust the camber on your rear suspension, which is really important, particularly if you've lowered the rear suspension. Now most people don't consider these next items as a performance upgrade, but in reality, they are. And what I'm referring to is firstly your engine mounts and then your gearbox mounts. So with your engine mounts, the standard E46 comes out with a liquid filled engine mount. So every time you're under heavy acceleration, the engine is actually flexing and moving on those mounts. And that is lost horsepower. It's lost energy. So by upgrading to a firmer engine mount, you're reducing the ability of the engine to flex and move on those mounts, and you're effectively getting more horsepower from the crank to the back wheels. There's 3 particular options here depending what you're going to be doing with your car. There's a solid rubber mount, which is the Grupp N mount, and I've installed those from BMW. Not sponsored. There's also a polyurethane mount, so if you're doing a bit of daily driving and regular track days, that's a good option. And if you're doing full-on track days, you can go a solid engine mount or a metal aluminium engine mount. Now the thing to remember is if you're going a polyurethane mount, you're going to get more NVH, which is noise, vibration and harshness. So you're going to get less engine movement, but you're going to get more NVH. If you're going to go the solid mount, which is purely for track days, because it's a track car, you're not going to mind the amount of noise, vibration and harshness in the cabin. As I say, I've gone the Grupp N mount, which is a solid rubber mount from BMW, not sponsored. I believe for my car, which is predominantly a daily driver, is the best option for me. So let's get under the car, have a look at the gearbox mounts.
So on top of this brace here is where you'll find your gearbox mounts. Now, access is really tight, so it is the sort of job that you can do at home by yourself, but it's going to be fiddly. Just be patient with it, and yeah, you shouldn't have any real drama. I was fortunate when I did mine because I had my exhaust system off, and that certainly gave me a little bit more access to be able to get particularly to the bolts or to the nuts which are on top of the mounts. But the real advantage here is this isn't going to give you any extra horsepower. This is more about making your driving experience much better. So if you couple these polyurethane mounts with the short shift kit from UUC, then you're going to find a really noticeable improvement in your driving experience. Your gear changes are going to feel much crisper and more precise, and you're not going to have any sloppy play in your gear changes. This is a really nice upgrade for driving experience. Now it's also going to help to minimize the risk of a missed gear change by giving you a more precise feel, because the gearbox isn't going to be flexing on the mounts, and it's also going to reduce the amount of engine flex when coupled with the firmer engine mount. So combining these two is the way to go. If you're going to do the engine mounts, do your gearbox mounts as well. So these two upgrades are really going to take your performance upgrades to the next level in terms of a slight increase in horsepower, and certainly next level in terms of your driving experience. So I'm going to crawl out of here and we'll get on to the next one. So for this next one, I'm going to have to pop the hood to show you. Now come around here and we'll have a look. So what I'm going to look at now is what's sometimes referred to as an underdrive pulley set. Basically what we're going to do is replace the accessory or ancillary pulleys and put on different size pulleys, which will reduce the amount of load that those pulleys are placing on the engine, which means that more of that energy can be transmitted back to the rear wheels. This is a really good bang for buck performance upgrade that you may not have considered before. You can potentially get between 5 and 10 horsepower simply by doing this upgrade. If you've got a really high powered sound system in your car, you can get this kit where you retain the original alternator pulley. What you're going to replace is the water pump, power steering pump and alternator pulley, and that's going to give you less parasitic drag on the engine. So this here is the kit from Turner Motorsport, and there's plenty available. ECS Tuning do one, I think Pelican Parts do one, VAC Motorsports, Bimmer World, all those popular places do them. And basically, as I say, you've got water pump pulleys. I've got this kit because I couldn't determine which alternator pulley I had, so there's an alternator pulley depending whether it's a Valeo or Bosch pulley, power steering pump, water pump pulley, and then a replacement drive belt as well. Now, as I say, I got my kit from Turner Motorsport, not sponsored, and I'll quote from the Turner Motorsport website in terms of what this kit does. Underdrive pulleys for your BMW will slow down engine-mounted accessories, the water pump, power steering pump and alternator. These systems contribute to parasitic loss. Since less energy is used to move them, that power is transferred back to the engine and used to propel the car. Our pulleys give a reduction of 5 to 10% reduction in rotation, releasing up to 11 horsepower for most 6-cylinder BMW engines. So that's off the Turner Motorsport website. For a few $100s to gain 10 to 11 horsepower is really good bang for your buck, is certainly going to take your E46 to the next level in the performance stakes. Now what we're going to have a look at next, we're not going to actually see, but it's underneath here, underneath the valve cover, and that's right, we're going to look at camshafts. In my earlier video, I talked about getting your E46 6-cylinder engine to breathe better. And the way we did that was to put in an air intake and a catback exhaust system. But upgrading your camshafts in combination with those things is going to take your performance to the next level. By going a performance camshaft, you're increasing the amount of lift and the duration of the cams as they go through their cycle. And that means you get more air fuel in and more exhaust gases out on each rotation. And that equates to more horsepower, which is what we're after and is certainly next level in the performance stakes. I've opted for a set of Schrick camshafts, and there's no denying that of all the performance modifications that I've talked about, this is probably the most expensive. A couple of things I need to mention in relation to the camshaft upgrade. Firstly, if you're going to do it yourself, you need to be fairly competent in terms of working on your car. And the reason for that is that you're going to have to remove all the timing gear, so the Vanos and all the timing gear, put the camshafts in and then reinstall all that sort of stuff. So you need to be fairly comfortable
with your mechanical ability to be able to do this job yourself. If you've got any doubts, get a mechanic to do it for you. Now the other thing with this upgrade is that you're going to want to get the engine properly retuned and remapped to take full advantage of those new camshafts. So allow for that in your budget as well. Now some of you might be asking why I've selected camshafts as an upgrade over, say, a performance set of headers. And the reason for that is that, in my opinion, the standard exhaust manifold on the E46 is not too bad. It's not too restrictive. So by going a performance set of headers, you're only going to get a few horsepower increase. And particularly for a right-hand drive, which is what we are here in Australia, they're super expensive. For a set of Supersprint headers to match my Supersprint catback exhaust, I'd be looking over $3,000. So $3,000 for a 5 horsepower gain doesn't really stack up. Whereas the horsepower gains, depending how they retune it, can be considerably more than that. And these Schrick camshafts that I got from the US, from VAC Motorsport, not sponsored, landed were about $2,200. For me, bang for buck, I put these on my list over a set of headers anytime. So that's my list of performance upgrades to take your E46 BMW to the next level in the performance stakes. Now to recap, we've got your sway bars, your engine mounts and gearbox mounts, power pulley and camshafts. So I've tried to keep these upgrades to the sort of projects that you can do at home on your car in your own garage. Now the camshafts, as I say, unless you've got a reasonably good mechanical understanding, then you may want to get somebody to do that. But I've done it myself in my garage, and the important thing is just take your time, but it's certainly doable at home. As you'll notice, a lot of these upgrades are 5 horsepower here, 5 horsepower there, but all these small incremental increases in horsepower soon add up. And when you combine all of them, you're suddenly taking your E46, which is already a really great platform, but you're taking it to the next level in the performance stakes. Now, one of the upgrades that I was going to put on my list, but I didn't include it because it's not the sort of job that a lot of people can do at home in their own garage, and that's taking out the dual mass flywheel on your manual transmission and putting in a single mass flywheel. The horsepower gains from doing that modification can be in excess of 10 horsepower, but obviously it involves getting the gearbox out, and as I say, that may not be the sort of job that a lot of people can do at home in their own garage. I really wanted to have that as my benchmark in terms of the upgrades. So I really appreciate you taking the time to watch my video. If you've liked it, don't forget to hit the like button. And if you'd like to see more content about BMW ownership, maintenance, performance upgrades, and to follow the build of my E46 BMW, then subscribe and ring the bell so you get notified each time a new video comes out. If you'd like to see more about the sway bars and how they can improve the handling of your car, then you can click and watch this video now. Or if you'd like to see the video that YouTube thinks you'll enjoy the most, then click and watch this video here. I've enjoyed your company, and until we meet again, look after yourselves, stay safe, and TTFN.